right, what's good, Fantasy Bros? This is Jimmy in the JT Zone presenting the playoff fantasy matchup of the week. This week I have my special guest. He's a featured guest writer. He's been on the show first time. I'm glad to have him as my first guest. This is Aravind of Trust the Rebuild.
We out here.
How
We
you
out here.
how you doing, Aravind?
Loving it, man. Loving it.
Happy you could be here for the show. It's an exciting show that we'll have for you guys today. We're gonna overview the playoff matchups of the week. We have two matchups to look at, and let's dive into the first matchup here. And actually involves Aravind himself. We
Of
have
course.
we have Trust the Rebuild versus Tabula Rasa. This is quite the big matchup that we have here. I know Aravind's excited to talk about it. I think the best place to start is just looking what's happened on the season so far. I mean, we had week 5 and week 16 where the two
hmm
teams faced off. So
hmm
week 5, so what happened here? We had a 5-4 win for Trust the Rebuild.
That's what I'm
So
talking about.
what do you think of that matchup? Do you remember anything about it?
That was early in the season. I still had some of my players still developing.
Yes.
I had Donovan Mitchell just started to get into his starter spot. Ricky Rubio was starting ahead of him. And then you had Rodney Hood, who is now traded.
Yes.
I had Rodney Hood as well, but thank God he's gone.
hmm
Now Donovan Mitchell's exploding.
hmm
And then we had Jason Tatum exploding. And the whole young bunch that I have, they're really doing well right now. So initially they were just getting started. I was surprised they even won that week, but that's when I had DeMarcus Cousins
Yeah, we'll,
beasting.
we'll talk about what happened to Marcus Cousins a bit later, but
Yeah,
I guess we'll fast forward a bit. That was week 5. It was a close matchup, 5-4,
hmm
right?
it's true.
And then we had week 16. So week 16, actually my mistake, week 14 was the second time that these teams met. And in that matchup, Ervin won again 6-3. So I don't know, I'm not too sure if that was before or after
Season
the big
sweep,
Cousins trade.
season
But
sweep.
regardless, it was a season sweep and it was a bit more a dominant victory that time around.
Told you Donovan Mitchell just came out, was bursting onto the scene. Then you
Okay.
had Ben Simmons killing it, triple doubles all the time. And then of course, if this was the trade, that means I got two legitimate big men, starting big men that were pretty much
Yeah.
doing damage. So
Legitimate big men. Yeah,
legitimate
yeah.
big man. One guy's trailing a little south right now, but otherwise he was
Yeah.
doing playing well at the moment.
Well, that seems like a good opportunity to talk about the team. So, looking a look at Trust the Rebuild's roster here. Let's start with the injuries for the week. I mean, this is the third matchup that they'll have, and things have changed since week 5 and week 14. The biggest changes now is that you're dealing with injuries with Gary Harris and Avery Bradley, which Avery Bradley
Huge,
is, yeah.
huge.
So,
Lost my both my starting two shooting guards.
yes, yeah.
Plus, Avery Bradley provided me with steals and points and just great percentages all around. Then had Gary Harris, who was my trusted three-point shooter, and with Jokic, who I also have on my team, they both help each other get better stats. So without him, Jokic's production is going to go down. So tough.
That Denver squad is really good when they start playing together. So many good players.
hmm
I have Jamal Murray myself.
yeah,
He do pretty good
that's
if I
what I'm
was in the
saying.
playoffs, but that's another day. Anyways, we have Collins day to day as
Mm.
well. Do you know the injury outlook for the rest of the week for Collins? He's gonna play at all?
He's day to day, but I don't expect him to play until maybe midweek.
hmm
Hopefully he plays, but I don't have any roster spots to throw him in, stash him away either. So
hmm
hopefully he comes back.
Yeah. Well, before the show, you went ahead and let's talk about the other roster changes. Before the show, we had to delay it a bit because you decided to pick up. Do you
Oh,
remember you
oh
picked
yeah,
up?
Alfred Camino.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
So that's a quick pickup. Dropped Nick Young.
Mhm.
Nick Young was playing well, playing 40 minutes approximately, like about since all the Warriors are pretty much done.
Yeah.
But Alfred Camino and the Portland Trailblazers are on fire, so expect him to have some great production too. So hopefully he plays well. Plus they're facing a fast-paced Houston. He's gonna
That's
throw
a
up a
good
bunch
point.
of stats.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see how much of impact that Aminu plays in the team. We have some other players as well that we wanted to briefly highlight. I think we should address the elephant in the room here. We had that big trade. So recall
Whew.
a few months back, DeMarcus Cousins, horrible injury, unfortunately,
Yeah.
out for the season, obviously,
Hmm.
and that was a big transition point for your team, right? I know there's a second member
Yeah.
that we haven't really talked about so far, the toenail, right?
Oh yes.
So it was actually let's get the
my
full
boy Navi.
let's get the full trade history on what happened here. So it's my understanding as co-GM that the toenail was the one who initiated this trade and not John Tsai.
No, that's what the speculations and the rumors are. The real truth behind it is John Tsai actually came up with this great trade where he offered to take DeMarcus Cousins off my hand.
Okay.
And he also wanted a special player that I'll mention in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But he wanted to collect DeMarcus Cousins and maybe stash him and bring him back for next year. And DeMarcus Cousins is a top 10 talent. Don't get me wrong. He was having a great fantasy season for my team. But it was John that offered the trade, and Navi was the one that negotiated and made the trade happen.
All right. You guys heard it here in the JT zone.
Navi.
Having that story finally brushed up. So like for those who missed the trade, but I think everyone did see it, a recap was DeMarcus Cousins and we have Dante Cunningham.
The GOAT.
In exchange for Al Horford and Blake Griffin. How are those guys doing in your team today?
Well, see, the thing was, when I got the trade, I was expecting great results.
Yes, yeah.
But then Blake Griffin got traded.
Yes, to Detroit. That was a big trade.
Detroit, and that kind of screwed up the system. Blake Griffin struggled, and they were losing, so he wasn't putting up good stats. Bad field goal percentages. Wasn't really assisting the ball as much in the beginning. So I pretty much offered him up on the trade block instantly. Yeah. So no responses there, but now he's playing well, so that was good. But Al Horford, let me tell you something about Al Horford.
It looks like he's another case right now. Maybe not as good as we initially thought.
Thanks right now. He is pure garbage. I haven't seen a shittier player as soon as I traded like him before. He had 6 points last game?
Yeah, well, we had some good discussion before. Then I think the consensus was he has maybe like 20 points in his last 3 games. Not a lot of defensive stats.
Nothing.
Boston's dealing with a lot. And this is his chance
to get 10 boards.
This is his chance to shine. I mean, we have injuries to Kyrie Irving. We have a bunch of other guys out. I mean,
he could honestly he should be taking up more of the load, but I picked up Terry Rozier just for that sake.
That looks like a great pickup. Unfortunately for Brian, I mean, he has Kyrie Irving, but
yeah. Honestly, he doesn't really know what his injury is, so he's getting a second opinion. I just read up.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's he's good for the playoffs, because you don't want to see a star player missing another star player out. Because Gordon Hayward's already out, so if Boston doesn't have Kyrie Irving, it looks like LeBron James is going to have an easier path.
Yeah, they've had a lot of injuries this season to deal with, and that's definitely something to keep an eye on how it moves forward. All right, that's enough of your team. I think we spent a lot of too much spotlight on yourself.
I expect us to win this one.
Again, Aravin's against Ben's team, tabula rasa here. Luckily, Ben's team is not dealing with too many injuries compared to Aravind right now. The main one is Dennis Smith Jr. He's day-to-day right now. We're not too sure if he'll miss a few games. It looks like he's probable for tonight, is what we saw. So yeah, hopefully injuries aren't a problem for Ben's team. But otherwise, let's take a look at who he has. Ben's already made. Today is Tuesday, and we've seen that Ben has already made 2 of his 3 acquisitions, right? Yeah. What's wrong with that?
This guy's dropping and picking up guys all day today. I think the past 2 days he's dropped 3 guys, picked up 2 guys already. He's gonna run out of acquisitions by this afternoon. You never really know.
So for summary, we have Taj Gibson dropped, Dwight Powell dropped, John Henson was picked up at one point, but he's now been dropped.
John Henson doesn't even deserve to be on a team. Let me tell you that.
John Henson's a great player. What are you talking about? I think he's even worth trading for.
John Collins?
Yeah, he is. Right. What are you talking about? All right. Well, we'll leave our other trade quibbles to another day.
Yeah.
But the net ad for Ben is Mike Muscala. So what do you think of that? He has a lot of history in the league. Maybe someone you can rely on for the playoff weeks, especially.
Maybe some 3-point shooting you could provide them, but honestly, Kent Bazemore's out, and John Collins is also. Mike Muscala will probably move into the starting role, so he'll probably get more minutes, more burn, play more stats.
I think it's definitely what Ben was thinking along the same lines as well. Ben also has a lot of strong players. His first round pick. All right, we're back from that short commercial break. Before that, we were talking about Ben's top players and
Mm-hmm.
his first round pick, Giannis, right? That's a
Beasting.
great pick for him. He's doing wonderful right now. Bucks are trying to secure a nice spot in the playoffs where exactly where they want to be, and Giannis is playing his heart out as a
Underperformed.
result.
Underperformed like crazy, this Bucks team. You expected them to be maybe like a fourth seed,
Yes,
fifth seed, but
agreed.
right now they're battling for what, seventh and eighth with
It's
Miami?
it's tough in the East right now. It's not easy, and that's when we get most excited as fantasy owners. When our
Yeah.
players, the pressure's on the line, they need to do well, and that's what we're looking forward to.
He's collecting stats, don't get me wrong. 37 points and 10 rebounds against
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James on the other day, but
That's great to
it's
have.
not getting any wins.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
as fantasy owner, you love
yeah,
that.
yeah, not wins for the team, but it could translate to wins for Ben. Let's see
Mm-hmm.
how it goes. Chris Paul, one of his other top picks, is also doing very well right now.
He's on fire too.
Mm-hmm.
This Houston Rockets team looks dangerous,
There's
especially with Golden State injured. This guy, if Chris Paul stays healthy, they could make some real big noise.
They can really take off. Now, one of Ben's underperforming players actually in recent weeks is actually Willie Cauley-Stein. Now, for those of you who remember, Willie Cauley-Stein was a trade that Tabula Rasa made with Thomas and Friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was Karis LeVert for Willie Cauley-Stein.
Bad move. Karis LeVert is on fire right now. 22 points last game. He shoots great percentages, and he has an all-around game. So he gets you steals, gets you boards, gets you assists. He's pretty active, so he plays a lot of minutes right now too.
It's a good point, but when it comes down to is these are two totally different players, and we have to look at the stats that they provide. I mean, Willie's going to give you those blocks that you really need for the matchup.
That's true.
He's going to hurt you a bit in other categories, maybe free throw, but hopefully he'll bring up with his field goal and his rebounding. Sacramento's a confusing team right now. They're in the midst of, a nice tank that's going on. The young player movement is alive.
Yeah.
So we'll see what kind of stats that Willie Cauley-Stein brings. But Ben did bring on John Henson at one point and did bring on Mike Muscala, perhaps looking for a few big man stats in addition to
getting some rebounds. You never know.
Exactly. So we'll see where that goes. So overall prediction time. I mean, we took a look at a bit of the teams, how they've been doing, the history throughout the year.
Yeah.
Who do you think's gonna win this week's matchup between Trust the Rebuild and between Tabula Rasa?
See, the thing is, I would hate to be biased, but my honest opinion is that Trust the Rebuild is just playing well right now, and I could see them continuing their regular season success and winning this one as well. Only key is if nobody gets injured, to be honest, and it looks like they're quite healthy for now. Hopefully they just keep on running it through, and hopefully Giannis gets some blowouts and doesn't play that many minutes. God damn, he collects a lot of stats in a lot of categories.
He's someone to definitely watch out for. Right now, the matchup, it's Tuesday, so we had one night so far, and it's 6-3, I believe, towards you.
Yeah.
Which is the same result that we had back in week 14. So perhaps it could stay the same, but perhaps we could have some dramatic turn. One thing that we do have to watch out for is the number of games left, which we haven't had the time to calculate, but that's a very important factor going forward. These are really good stats to have, and you really have to take a look at what your players' schedules are. And I'm sure Ben, with his research, has been keeping tabs on how much games are remaining.
That might be a reason why he took Mike Muscala anyway. He might be playing 4 games. You never know.
Yeah, so we'll have to see about that. So that's that matchup over here. So special guest Aravind thinks that his team will win against Ben. We'll really see what happens in next week's.
What do you think?
I'm the co-GM. I'm supposed to be unbiased. I'm mainly
the host. Trust the Rebuild behind the camera.
I'm not here for any hot takes or anything like that. I'm just here, being the good host that I am, and inviting my guest here. But this is what we have for now, right? All right. Good. So with that being said, we're gonna take a short commercial break. We'll come back and we'll analyze the second matchup of the week. Stay tuned, guys. All right, welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning back in. So we have the second matchup that we want to discuss right now. This is Albert versus Kalen. We have Thomas and Friends versus the Wacko Goslings. Now, this is a very interesting matchup right now. As of now, I believe it's 4-3-2 or something like that.
Yeah, 3-4-2, 4-3-2.
Yeah, it's very close between these two teams, and if anything, the regular season was a preview showing it that these teams are close to begin with. Once again, week 4, I believe. Yeah, we have week 5, Kalen versus Albert. who was the winner in that one? We had
Albert taking that one 6-3.
Albert took that one 6-3, but then when they saw each other again in week 14, Kalen came out on top 5-4. And
split the season series right there.
Yeah, 1-1 right here. But coming into the playoffs, we have a whole different story in a way that Albert kind of squeezed into that 6th place spot versus Kalen, who just squeezed out of that that coveted second week bye.
Yeah, that's the thing. Brian escaped and took that spot.
Yeah.
So they both the top 2 seeds got the bye there, but Kalen's gonna have trouble this week from what it looks like.
It's tough, and I think that's our top story for this matchup is Kalen's injury. I mean, it's a huge list of injuries. Let's take a look at his team right now. He has Klay Thompson injured, Kevin Durant, Malcolm Brogdon, Sabonis, and even has those injuries are enough to make you pretty upset. These are very
Brogdon right there too.
Yeah, Brogdon. We had a bit of discussion. Yeah, maybe Kalen should consider dropping these players, but this is a dynasty league. We have to remember that.
Kalen drop Brogdon right now. I won't take him.
I'll take it. It's tough. You want to have as many games as possible, but with this many injuries, it's a tough decision that Kalen will have to face this week. We're not too sure what he's gonna do, if there's gonna be any drastic movements. Given how close the matchup is, perhaps Kalen is looking to see if he can survive the storm and then go on from there.
Yeah, I'm looking at his team, and not a lot of guys you could drop, to be honest. Sabonis is an 0-2, so I don't know if you're gonna get any production, to be honest. You have 4 guys are out, and 2 of them taking up active spots, so it's gonna be tough for him to beat Albert's team this week.
It's tough. When we look at the player rankings for the week, most of Kalen's players are doing quite well, save for Mario Hezonja. But he's on the Orlando Magic, and they're doing a lot of experimenting there. They have a few injuries with the Aaron Gordon getting injured, a concussion. We have Jonathan Isaac. Both players have to be on my team as well, so this is a knowledgeable topic for me.
Yeah.
But besides that, Mario Hezonja, he's had some really good moments of where he's really shined.
Yeah.
Right now, he's not really shining that well. Do you think he can turn around for the rest of the week?
He's like a streaky guy though. He's like a J.R. Smith kind of guy.
Yes.
He's just like he's athletic. He gets to the rim. He shoots a lot of threes. But that Orlando offense is terrible, man. Vucevic last year was a double machine. I don't know what happened to him. He's injury plagued, but he's not the same. You got DJ Augustine starting at the point guard position. I don't know why DJ Augustine's even starting, and they got Alfred Payton for no reason.
A second-round pick. I mean,
I don't know what you're gonna get for a second-round pick. And DJ Augustine is at best a backup point guard for a team, not a starting point guard. But it is what it is.
The team is definitely interesting to see going forward. So maybe that's one of Kalen's weak links, but despite all the injuries, he still has some bright spots here and there. For example, we have JV. He's doing great right now. The Raptors are really relying on him down the stretch. Even tonight, amazing first quarter.
Yeah.
We'll see if that holds up. But this is the kind of stuff that Kalen will really need going into this matchup. He could use all the help that he can get.
For sure. He's got to have a lot of guys stepping up. You got Julius Randle's got to step it up. You got JV got to step it up. Lou Williams got to play like the all-star potential that he has. And everybody else has just got to step up because he has a lot of role players that can really do some damage. Oh, and don't forget, he has Kemba Walker, who is playing on a bad Charlotte team, so he can put up some big stats.
Kemba has been putting up some big stats lately, I believe, as well, in terms of threes and points. This is exactly what you might need against Thomas and friends. So let's transition a bit to Thomas and friends. So taking a look at Albert's team for the week. He squeezed into the playoffs, like we said. Not really squeezed in, but
6th seed.
He dropped to that 6th seed at the last moment.
Yeah.
And so he has a few injuries as well. It's not like Kalen's alone in these injuries. We have, we have Conley injured, we have Larry Nance injured, we have Gallo injured. These are some pretty big middle name players that we have. It's not as big as KD or Klay Thompson, but you're losing some games here as well.
It's true, but he still has a few like all-stars to pick up the slack. You got Paul George, who's on a good OKC team who's rolling right now. Then you got Karl Anthony Towns, a double-double machine, leads the NBA in double-doubles. So you can always expect production from him. And don't forget Brook Lopez.
He's been doing amazing. So Ever since he got the minutes, now he's getting consistently 30 minutes per game. It looks like the Lakers are a bit more lax, or just whatever, just let the season let it be.
Mm-hmm.
And Brook Lopez really shining in the system right now with those blocks, with those
Huge
points,
numbers.
a bit of rebounds even. I mean, he's doing great. He's actually the best player on Albert's team according to the player rankings.
He's dropping threes
in the
from
past
all
few
over right
weeks.
now too. So
So he's a great player to own right now. A good pickup for Albert going in.
Yep.
Especially when he has a few day-to-day injuries that he's thinking of as well. I mean, we
that's
have
true.
we have T.J. Warren injured and Zach LaVine injured a bit, so
Yeah.
that's a bit of a tough spot as well. In terms of maybe Albert's weak spots, we were kind of discussing earlier. Jared Allen kind of stands out there. What do you think?
I don't even know why Albert has Jared Allen, to be honest, other than maybe just for the sole purpose of just getting that one block per game. But to his credit, he has 3, 4 guys who can get him blocked. So I think he's just targeting that one category, and it doesn't look like Kalen has any big men that will get you consistent blocks other than JV. Their best shot blocker, KD, is out surprisingly.
Yeah,
so
he is a great shot.
defensive player of the year candidate too. So I think blocks definitely goes to Albert automatically. But
Yeah. So maybe Albert has some other motives, looking at the youth movement and considering the dynasty implications of all of this. Of course, both players still have a lot of matchup acquisitions left, so anything can happen there. So we'll really see where it goes. So we've had a look at both teams, Aravind, and going into the rest of the week, who do you think is going to be the one that comes out on top?
It's tough. You have Kalen's team with 2 major injuries, and then you got Albert's team with multiple injuries, but not to his star players.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to go with Albert. Albert's team just has the more stars, and his stars will pull through. Because a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, he can provide the production of maybe 1.5, 2 guys on Kalen's team, which is gonna be tough to beat out.
It's tough going in. We would have thought that Kalen would be the one coming out on top, but
Definitely
the tough thing about moving to head-to-head and a weekly matchup, you really need your players to show up on that exact week. And unfortunately for Kalen, he's going to have a bit of trouble, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, but we'll see what he can muster. It's a very close matchup now, and I think we both agree that it'll be a close matchup on Sunday evening.
Definitely.
When the dust settles, right? And so when the dust does settle, we're gonna have a whole new week of matchups. We're gonna be into the Final Four. It'll be very interesting. We have 2 guys. We have the newcomer June. And we also have one of our staples of the league, Brian. So these 2 players, they had a bye this week. How they do next week against these potential matchups, we'll be back right in a few moments, and we'll discuss very briefly what we think will happen next week. So stay tuned, guys. Hi, everyone. We're back to the JT Zone matchup of the week. So after this week wraps up, we have our 2 teams with the bye weeks waiting there to see who they're going to face next. So first, let's talk about the first place team. I mean, we have June here with Deadmon Don't Talk. He's first place, great record, 120 plus wins throughout the season. He has quite the roster there. And June will be the one facing the winner of the Aravind Ben matchup. So
coming for that chip. Let's go.
Yeah, coming for that chip. So we'll see what happens there. June's team very strong looking right now. Let's take a look into some of the players that we have. First, let's highlight some of the injuries that June might be going through. He has actually doesn't really have he has a lot of injuries. But players should be fine for the coming week.
Yeah, Devin Booker is only a day-to-day, so you can expect him back when the next week rolls around for the next matchup. But Chris Dunn is out, Kent Bazemore is out, and Lauri Markkanen is out. Kent Bazemore provides you some steals and some scoring, so tough loss there. Lauri Markkanen's having a great rookie season.
One of the potential rookie of the year candidates up too.
Yeah, for sure. 8 boards a game approximately, and about 2-3 threes a game. So it's very huge for that Chicago Bulls team. And then you got Chris Dunn, of course, steals machine for that Chicago Bulls team. So you got 2 Bulls out, and then of course, some people said should have been All-Star Devin Booker on a really bad
Yeah,
Phoenix team.
that's a tough topic to talk about. But
Hmm.
fantasy-wise, Devin Booker, he's a great contributor.
Huge.
And yeah, definitely Devin Booker scoring machine there. But we
Hmm.
have a few other players that will help June even further. I mean, his first round pick, and let's recap what exactly happened there. June came late to the draft,
Yep.
and it was actually an auto pick for his very first pick, and that was James Harden.
Huge. Great pick.
I talked to him at the time, and
Great pick.
June came back and was like, "Oh, Jimmy, I picked James Harden." I think he wanted a bit more flexibility in thinking about who he
Mm.
get to choose, but at the end of the day, I don't think June can complain with James Harden's been MVP of the season essentially.
Honestly, I thought his stats would go down with the addition of Chris Paul, but he's maintained that MVP type season, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely looks like he is the front runner for the MVP. Plus, his assists and his scoring and his percentages, my God,
Mm-hmm.
all like the ultimate fantasy player this season, I would say is James Harden. Just great all around.
It's hard to disagree. In addition to James Harden, I mean, June has a bunch of other players that are going to step up for him. You have, Chris Middleton,
Mm.
RHJ, you have Clint Capella,
Yeah.
we talked about Devin Booker, there's Dragic doing well. Even
Mm.
Markieff Morris is a great player going down the stretch. I mean,
Yeah,
these are a lot of players to be scared with, if you're going to face such a team.
that's true. Also, Hollis Jefferson, you never expect him to be doing so well right now. He's almost a close like a 18-9 kind of guy right now.
He's a great player, and June actually picked him up from the free agency that was dropped by
Yeah,
Kalen some time ago. I'm sure he had his reasons then as well, but right now, Kalen might be regretting it. This is a healthy player, right? I
another
think
bad drop by Kalen.
So it is some tough decisions. I think that's a great future episode we could do, taking a look
Hmm.
at the players that have been dropped. But essentially, this is a drop that Kalen would love to have back at this point. But right now, June has him, and this is a great player on a great team. We'll see what they're capable of,
Yeah,
and they'll be facing once again the winner of Aravind versus Ben, and that'll take place next week. And we'll have
coming
another
for that.
episode recapping who wins and what our outlook is from there on. Moving on, second matchup,
Yep.
our second player, Flat Earth. This is Team Brian right here. His favorite player is Kyrie Irving,
Yep.
but Irving unfortunately has that big injury to deal with.
Yep. Knee injury. He's got the star, the GOAT, the best player of all time, DJ Augustine, filling in that role at the starting point guard position. I don't know why he's in this league, and he's in his starting point guard position for Brian, but
Well, yeah.
he's putting up some stats, and he recently had 32 points in a game, so I guess
Yeah.
he's rolling with that.
Yeah.
But
Otherwise, it looks like Brian's team was lucky to get the
Mhm.
bye week, if anything. I mean, his
Definitely.
team looks like in horrible shape right now with these injuries. I mean, here and there. You want to name some of the injuries he's going through?
it's another team that is not fully healthy, and you love to see their
Yeah.
team healthy when you're facing them in the playoffs. But of course, Reggie Jackson's been out for like forever.
Mhm.
Deion Waiter's already out for the season. He's got both of those guys taking up his injured reserve spots. But DeMar DeRozan apparently is got some nicks and knacks around, so he's kind of hurting
Mhm.
right now.
Mhm.
Then you got Jonathan Simmons, who's also a DTD, and Derek Favors. So honestly, you don't know who's really going to play and who really isn't this week.
Yeah. If anything, a few players that look like they're out,
Yeah.
but a lot of day-to-days as well, people to keep tabs on. So hopefully Brian can relax this week, and then going into his actual playoff week, either against the winner of Albert or Kalen, he can perform well for a nice week next week, right?
Surprisingly, all three of those teams are injured, so you really don't know who's going to win either of these matchups and who's going to make it through and who's going to win the one coming up either. So
If anything,
So,
the breaking point would be our free agency, which it's a very high contention free agency. I mean, even the players that are out are still making moves. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw John Sy making a few moves here and there.
yeah,
Still, I'm on the hunt. If you guys get desperate and drop players, I mean, I'll pick them up
yeah,
for sure. I mean, we do have the consolation bracket going on.
yeah.
So there's still some good competition there to be had.
It's true.
Overall, I mean, the fantasy season still in full swing, a lot of stuff happening, and this is the most
Mhm.
exciting part to look forward to, and I think you would agree.
Yep. You don't know who's going to win it. It's up in the air. Any team could have a good week. Any team could have a bad week. Depends on your players, of course. But honestly, some of these pickups you got to be strategic in picking out which guys you really need.
Yeah.
You got to look at games. You got to see who's on fire. There's a lot of things to take into this, but honestly, trust the rebuild. If you guys had betting on this, who's gonna win the championship, I would bet on trust the rebuild.
We'll see. We'll see what the other teams have to say about that.
Yep.
We try to reach out to the Toenail for a comment on his team's assessment, but
My boy Navi holding down the team.
he's out there making some big moves behind the scenes, and hopefully next time we can have his opinion.
He's our scout. He's actually looking at the young prospects in the NCAA March Madness. So we're trying to make some off-season trades. I'm open to any trade. Every player on my team is on the block, no matter who it is. Jokic, Blake Griffin, Al Horford. I don't want to trade Al Horford, but if it's a right offer comes around, I'll be willing to pull that trigger. Let's go.
The right offer comes around. I think if anything, we showed before that you've made some horrible offers to other teams. I mean, I'm sure the owners watching know this guy's reputation for the brilliant offers that he seems to suggest.
You know what it is. It's just a negotiation, to be honest. Anybody could come out with good offers or bad offers. It's just about whatever works by the team. I kind of lost in that DeMarcus Cousins trade because DeMarcus Cousins is such a great player. Plus, my gift right now is still DeMarcus Cousins. Got to change that, but he was great for my team. Wish him nothing but the best.
He's a tough player to let go, but keeping in mind what the reason behind the move was for trying that full playoff push,
win now,
thinking this is the season to win. I mean, and when we think about championships, I mean, the co-GMs, I mean, it might be the end of our reign. I mean, I won the first 3 years.
Oof.
Then Albert goes on a rampage and he wins 5 years in a row. Now we're in the 9th season, and it looks like Albert's 6th place. I mean, maybe this could be the year where we have a new champion. What do you think?
Honestly, from what Albert's done in the previous 5 years, I do not doubt him coming out of this one and winning, because he's got the luck of the Irish or something, man, because he is going to steamroll it. I can just imagine, because he just catches fire and just keeps on going. So good luck to Kayla and good luck to Brian, because I don't want to see Albert coming out of that division.
Very good point that you bring up there. A lot of great matchups to look. I hope that you guys enjoyed this very first episode of the JT Zone. I want to thank my guest Aravind for being here today. Thanks so much. Next week, tune in for another episode of the playoff edition of the JT Zone. Thanks again for watching. Hope your teams do well, regardless of if you're in the playoffs or not. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Peace.